No one likes responsibility. Monday, November 30th and Tuesday, December 1st, my advanced class, we're going to get into more outsidering. We're not going to get to kid death yet. We will eventually get to kid death. We will get to kid death by the time we get to Thursday, Friday. So we're close to kid death, but not quite there yet. And also, it's disturbing how many of you guys smiled really big when I talked about kid death. It should not bring you that much happiness. One of us probably needs therapy. Or one of us needs therapy because they have to put up with the other one. That could go either way. Again, missing homework for bad kids or slow kids or troubled kids. Here's the new page I have for you. There is a quiz coming up Thursday, Friday, which is going to cover chapters 1 through 4. My guess is that we're going to get through chapter 2 together and then maybe part of chapter 3, but you are going to have to read some of this book all on your own. I will not be able to read all 4 chapters with you in class. I simply do not read that fast. Plus, being advanced kids, you have to do some reading on your own on some level. So you're going to have to do something on your own for quiz coming up. I will be assigning an IXL on Wednesday because it's been a while, and it should be an easy reviewy one. And we're going to review on Wednesday too because it's about figures of speech. If you go to the new Outsiders page, here I am to try and help you out. On Outsiders page, that's where you can download the ebook. And then now there's also audiobooks. So if you want to listen to someone reading it, one, if you're in class, you can listen to my melodic voice and I'll read it to you. Or you're more than welcome to go on to here. And for each chapter, you can go clicky, clicky, and it pops open with a guy who is reading it to you, who's like a professional readery person. And you're more than welcome to listen to the links on there. And that is fine with me too. Either one is good. So that is now on the Canvas page for you to use. And to here. Let's see, we covered these and say friends are always more important than family. Kind of got into that already. It was hard to meet all these different people. Any kid that gets to the principles of bad kid. As we found out how you guys define bad kid, because Ponyboy opens up talking about how his friends rob gas stations, which we get right into it. I would intervene if I saw my bully getting beat up. That's going to be coming up here real soon in like chapter 3, 4-ish, somewhere right around maybe 3-ish. 4, loudly announcing to the whole class that someone has ugly clothes. We'll get to part of that today. We're going to talk about one of the scenes where he gets made fun of in a class. And then I would report my BFF for doing something majorly bad. That's not until chapter 4. So we'll get to it by Thursday, Friday, but we don't have majorly bad thing happening yet. All right, so I think that covers all of our things from there. Ooh, let's see. What? Audiobooks are great. I listen to audiobooks all the time. Don't be hating on audiobooks. And for some kids, it helps them out. You don't have to like them yourself. You just don't have to go all attacky on other people or whatever. Those of you, I am going to throw a couple chat challenges you in just a moment for those of you who want to win our chat challenging thing. And then also along those lines, I'm going to give you guys a chance to yell at me because I kind of miss your voices, except for Rye. Not because I don't miss Rye, but because I've already heard his voice. And I've already heard JC's voice. So I don't have to miss him quite as badly. But the others of you, I heard you guys in forever. And apparently the drawback to virtual learning is that we all feel like we're secluded and don't get to interact with each other. I like interacting with you guys. It brings me happiness. All right. All right, back to here. Nate, don't make it weird. But yes, I do just a little bit. Even though you are wearing a hat to try and protect yourself from Mr. Broviak high school hair, but that's okay. To there, and let's see, to there, and we get into, on this thing again. Yes, look, you guys are all excited. Mr. Broviak, you have emotions. I don't. I'm just imitating what I saw on TV. We are going to continue having you guys connect to the book to your life and stuff like that. I will continue to do the same thing. Ow, that makes me sad. And then to go along those same lines, my goal is to hopefully get a chance to end class at least a smidgen early. But in order for that to happen, I'm going to need 6 of you bravely, 6 different people to show me different connections and stuff like that. And so if I can get 6 different brave people from there, and then we'll get a chance to end class early. If not, then I can only assume that that means that you want me to keep reading because you love my melodic voice. Thank you. That's such a compliment. All right, let's get into stuff. Let's see what we have here. Paul Newman opens up with him because the main character is Ponyboy. Let's go with, for those of you who want to yell at me, here is your first yelling at me question. You know Paul Newman as a voice Why do you know Paul Newman's voice?
Doc
Some part of character.
and a
There you go. Nicely done. And then we also got to salad dressing, which I guess I could ask you as a question, but I just want to show you guys the pictures of salad dressing. And then let's see, we have, all right. Let's make it a quick, let's go for here. Hang on, everyone, let's do a chat challenge. Chat challenge, our first one for the day. All right. It is the Doc Hudson car guy. Well, you're correct. Ryan Reynolds, stop trying to make me man crush. All right, here. Do you know that Ryan Reynolds has a YouTube page that is just like him randomly doing commercials? It is entertaining. All right, aside from Ryan Reynolds, here is your chat challenge. It is a two-part. Mint Mobile, you know your Ryan Reynolds ads. Nicely done. I've also figured out about Mint Mobile because of him. All right, here's your chat challenge. The Outsiders is all about two groups fighting each other, the Greasers and the Socias. Here is your question. Socias is short for what word? That is going to be your challenge. Wait for it to pop up in chat. And so Socias is short for what word? Because I know you guys are going to try and call it socks. So we're going to try and beat this into you. Oh, and I haven't hit it. Oh my goodness. Why would you guys do it so hard? There's your chat, Chow. Who's my one response? There you go. Way to go, Eli. You were either fast or you redid it. And then I see kids who are angrily realizing that they were. So Eli, Sophia, you were second. And then Rye was third. Eli with the win for the Socias. Eli. And a point for Eli. Socias stands for socials. Nicely done. Socialists. Goodness gracious, Colleen. No, that's who Donald Trump hates, which is a completely different thing. I mean, I guess you could call them socialists if you want, but it's like your own personal thing. What are socialists? Not nearly as evil as you might think they are. Socialists are just people who want to make everyone equal, and they try to help the poor people by bringing them up, but they're not against, like, they're not for rich people and giving all the money to people. They're all for like trying to help people out. But apparently helping people is not always a good thing. Some socialism is good. All socialism might not be good for the economy. I know those people are there. Don't say it never works. It does work. You just have to have some socialism. It's like being a good person. You can't be a complete nice guy. You got to be a little bit of a nice guy. You got to mix there. It's okay to be confused. And then let's see, we got to there. There's my gang as they got together. We have the Greasers, who are Ponyboy and his friends. And then we got to the Socias, which stands for socials, and our Soch dog. And apparently that guy who just looks like a jerk, and the guy who just looks confused, like a little rap star. And then let's go to the red Corvair, which were the Socias, who jump out and try to beat up Ponyboy. And then, hang on a second, let's do another chat challenge. Because all those kids accidentally went early. Hang on. Here's going to be a slightly tougher chat challenge. I don't know if you're going to get this one as easily. Let's go with, here's your chat challenge. So when Ponyboy is getting beat up by the Socias, they jump out of the car and they run over and they hold him down and they threaten to give him a haircut. When that happens, you can do either one. There's two different answers. I only need one of the two. There are two smells he mentioned. And so what are those two smells that he mentioned were overwhelming that were coming from the Socias when they were holding him down? And I felt bad because I haven't put chat challenge into it yet. Why are you guys making such poor choice? And so those are the two challenges. Apparently Eli is a leader, and chat challenge is now activated. Wow, that just flew through there. And then Sophia, don't freak out. Maybe you were first on my screen. And chat challenge is, you were not. It was Valerie was first, and then Colleen, and then Owen, and then although hang on. Sophia, I am going to still give you a point because you're the first one who had both answers. Valerie only had one answer, so I am going to give it to Rutsito for a point, but I'm also going to give it to Rush because she also answered with both parts of it, which is both the tobacco and the cologne, which was the English leather. Oh, nicely done. Avery. All right, hang on. I'm going to give a shout out to Avery on that one because she also had the actual name for it, which was the English leather shaving. So, all right, Avery, I gave out 3 on that one because you guys had the first, the most complete, and then the people who actually pulled back English leather shaving lotion. Go you. Then, all right. I'm first on my screen. Well, go you on that one. By the way, over break, to entertain myself, I watched a couple of Twitch streams, and it was entertaining watching the Twitch streamers interact with their Twitch stream. So I was trying to pick up some hints. I was like trying to get my Twitch interaction was trying to improve as best I could. So I was watching Twitch streams, trying to do some research on that one. It was entertaining. And let's see, the busted pop bottle again, not the plastic ones. Plastic ones do you no good when you're trying to stab a person. Glass only. If not, you're just going to get yourself embarrassed and you bonk somebody in the head. Let's see, we got to that. And then his friend showed up. We talked about the empty lot. That's when the thing in the neighbor. By the way, I've never noticed that guy has leg tattoos. If you look at the picture really closely, the leg that's bent, he's got like a whole leg full of tattoos, or he's turning into a zombie. It's kind of hard to tell. I don't know if your screens are too small to see it, but his whole leg is covered in tattoos. Not the dog's leg, by the way, the human's leg, in case you got distracted on that one. I don't think we have dog tattoos yet, although that would be kind of cool. And then empty lot, and we got to, of these, we have between the Socs and the greasers. This is going to be your Soc outfit, where they look all special and nifty. But apparently, if you combine special and nifty, you get speffle. They look very speffle. Someday I want to look speffle. And then we got to Derry's cowlick, which is the hair sticking up in the back. And I think that's about where we got to. We had just, I think, got to cocked eyebrow. And that was when they looked at each other in the eyebrow. That whatever I do is just going to come across looking creepy and weird. Feels like I nailed it. Never mind. You guys are showing me up with your own eyebrow. Yes, your eyebrows are better than mine. Ooh, hang on. Quick timeout. Oh, wait, we're recording class. Never mind. I have new video filters, but I'm not going to do it with recording class. But I was going to show you my new video filter. I can change my eyebrows on the new Zoom video filters. Literally, I can give myself eyebrows and change my eyebrow colors. That's a thing. It's weird. All right. Macnell, are you pretending to be a pirate? Oh, you're cocking your eyebrow. I thought you just jabbed yourself in the eye. I think that means you have a stroke when you're just pulling down half of your face. But the intention is there, and it makes me giggle. At the end of class, if you remind, what are you children doing? It looks like you're all having strokes and massaging your faces. You're just like, rah, rah, rah. You're like trying to make your eyebrows dance at me. Well, Elena, that's why we have scissors. You just go right across that, ticka, 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 and you take off your bangs, and then everyone can see your eyebrows just fine. That's what I did, and it solved my problem right away. See? Problem solving. It feels like you're trying to challenge me on that one, Colleen, and I'm not going to fall for it, although it's very tempting. All right, that's what we left off on there. All right, so now we'll leave it on this screen and get to continue. Those of you who are doing ebook, I don't know exactly what page we're on because the ebook pages are different than our pages. But for those of you who are doing paper book, we're starting on page 8 at the bottom. So page 8 at the bottom, where it talks about soda cocking one eyebrow. Again, don't forget to make your connections. I'll continue to tell you my connections as we figure it out as we go through it. I'm also going to be oddly pacing back and forth as I'm reading because sitting still is driving me insane. Magenta. I could do magenta ones. Anyway, I'll show you, hopefully at some point, I'll show you my new video things that change my eyebrows. All right, page 8 at the bottom, outsiders. Derry looked as if he'd like to knock our heads together. Wait, I'll back up so you guys can see it. You're both nuts. Soda merely cocked one eyebrow, a trick he'd picked up from Tues. Seems to run in the family. Derry looked at him for a second, then cracked a grin. The soda pop isn't afraid of him like everyone else and enjoys teasing him. Me, I'd just as soon tease a full-grown grizzly, but for some reason, Derry seems to like being teased by Soda. That was a part I already highlighted in mind about the teasing a grizzly bear, and I wrote down my students because you guys tend to like to pick fights with me to see if you can get the giant grizzly bear man to attack you. So I was making the connection on that one. There we go. Our gang had chased the Socias to their car and heaved rocks at them. They came running toward us now, 4 lean, hard guys. They were all as tough as nails and looked it. I'd grown up with them, and they accepted me, even though I was younger, because I was Derry and Soda's kid brother, and I kept my mouth shut good. Steve Randall was 17, tall and lean with thick, greasy hair. He kept combed in complicated swirls. He was cocky, smart, and Soda's best buddy since grade school. Steve's specialty was cars. He could lift a hubcap quicker and more quietly than anyone in the neighborhood, but he also knew cars upside down and backward, and he could drive anything on wheels. He and Soda worked at the same gas station, Steve part-time and Soda full-time, and their station got more customers than any other one in town. Whether that was because Steve was so good at cars or because Soda attracted girls like honey draws flies, I couldn't tell you. I liked Steve only because he was Soda's best friend. He didn't like me. He thought I was a tag-along and a kid. Soda always took me with them when they went places they weren't taking girls, and I don't know, that bugged Steve. It wasn't my fault. Soda always asked me. I didn't ask him. Soda doesn't think I'm a kid. All right, so this is one of the ways that the world has changed, by the way. Hang on, I'm gonna grab a thing. So they talk about hubcap. Do you guys know what hubcaps are? Because we don't really have hubcaps as much today as we used to, because it talks about Steve lifting hubcaps. And if you don't know what a hubcap is, then it sort of makes it real tough to figure out. If you are unaware of what a hubcap is, I can pop it up. Ooh, things that open the front of the. No, but you are correct. It does have to do with a car, but they're not with the front of the car. The hubcap are going to be the things that are on the actual thing. There you go, Eli, the things that are on top of the wheels. So it looks like this. So I brought in hubcap for you. So what it says that Steve does when it says that Steve lifts hubcaps, that's slang for stealing them. Essentially, at one point, these were made of metal. Like my current one is just plastic I found on the side of the road running with my cross-country girls. And so this one's not worth any money. But at one time, when they were made out of metal, they were expensive. And if you were a thief, you could take a screwdriver and you would go over to a car and you would pop these right off, lift them up, steal all 4 of them, and then you could sell them to somebody else. And you could sell like the big fancy hubcaps. Nowadays, hubcaps aren't the big thing. They have like the things that go in the wheels, rims, which are a lot harder to steal because you have to pull off the whole car tire. Back when it was these, you literally just needed a flat-headed screwdriver and you could just pry them off and they would bing, come right off and you would steal it. So that's what they're talking about Steve. He goes around stealing hubcaps. So that's the thing with him. He's a thief, but apparently not a bad person. So again, we're going to keep seeing how well you define bad people and whether you consider that makes him a bad person or not. 2-bit Matt, bottom of page 9. 2-bit Matthews was the oldest of the gang and the wisecracker of the bunch. He was about 6 feet tall, stocky in build, and very proud of his long, rusty-colored sideburns. He had gray eyes and a wide grin, and he couldn't stop making funny remarks to save his life. You couldn't shut up that guy. He always had to get his 2 bits worth in, hence his name. Even his teachers forgot his real name was Keith, and we hardly remembered he had one. Life was one big joke to 2-bit. He was famous for shoplifting and his black-handled switchblade, which he couldn't have acquired without his first talent, and he was always smarting off the cops. He really couldn't help it. Everything he said was so irresistibly funny that he had to let the police in on it to brighten up their dull lives. At least that's the way he explained it to me. He liked fights, blondes, and for some unfathomable reason, school. He was still a junior at 18 and a half, and he never learned anything. He just went for kicks. I liked him real well because he kept us laughing at ourselves as well as at other things. He reminded me of Will Rogers. No, maybe it was the grin. With 2-bit, a couple of things. They say he's 18 and a half and only a junior. That means that technically he should be in college or at least graduated, but he's still only like in the 3rd year of high school. So I'm guessing he's been held back before. But it doesn't matter because he's one of those kids that's happy-go-lucky, just enjoys himself. And they mentioned that it reminds him of Will Rogers. Will Rogers was a comedian back in the day who was a cowboy, but was like a stand-up comic cowboy. And so that was what they're talking about with Will Rogers. He was sort of like the best known at the time, Chris Rock of his time, if you will. something along those lines, or John Mulaney for those of you who are Mulaney fans. So something along those days, like the best known, like one of the super funniest type people. Also, they're going to talk about switchblades. If you don't know what a switchblade is, let me show you. So a switchblade is when you have, it's a knife, and the switch, when you have like a little switch on it, and when you hit the switch, the little blade pops out from the front, and then you can do stabby things like that. Mine's a fake one, so don't get too excited on that. But switchblade plays big role in story, where a lot of them carry, where you can hit the little button, and then knife comes out. The problem is I did bring my fake knife to school so that I could just stab myself in the hand. By the way, this is where I miss having you guys here, because if you guys were here and I had actual kids in the classroom, I would have fake stabbed one of you. I'd bring the knife out and then I just like stab one of you, and it freaks kids out. And so just imagine me like stabbing you, and that's our way of bonding on that one. This one, I'm going to show you guys a little. So the problem with this knife, by the way, is that when it shoots straight out, they are illegal to own, and well, at least illegal to sell in Indiana. My daughter has one because when we went down to Nashville, Tennessee, they had them down there, and you can buy them in Tennessee. But in Indiana, they're illegal because apparently there's no point in having one unless you're going to stab people. Everyone else can see my screen, Maddie. That sounds like a you issue because I see other kids who are leaning in and looking. So apparently, Maddie, that might be a you issue. When you jump out to go look at the digital book, let's try this. I don't know. I'm going to stop sharing. Let's try here, and we'll try sharing again. No, stop sharing. Let's try it here. Share. Oh, did it stop? Let's see. Share.
Mr. Broviak?
Yes.
It's because you have pinned yourself by the host. So when you're screen sharing and we have everyone in gallery view, you don't pop up.
Yeah, well, that's why you don't put everybody in gallery view.
I know, but when you're screen sharing, we have to be in gallery view.
Interesting. This never happened before. Let's see. So
Actually, it has. No one told you, though.
Well, then that would be the same thing. Macnol, what's up?
It would have been funnier if you would have taken, because have you ever seen like the combs that like pop out, sort of like switchblades?
I have one of those.
Yeah, and it would be funny if you would have taken the comb and like popped it out, and people would have thought it was a knife at first.
I do that also. And it's just, once again, not having you guys here apparently makes it a little bit tougher, and apparently struggling with figuring out why the little screeny thing. See, look at that. Bri can see me just fine. I can
see you just fine as well.
Macnol? Oh, is your screen, sorry, your hand is still up. Watkins? No, your hand was up. Never mind. We're having all kinds of issues now. I'm going to go back to just making it. Rush, I apologize, dear. We're having all kinds of issues again.
So it's illegal to buy one in Indiana, but it's not illegal to have one in Indiana, right?
Apparently, that's how I understand things. It's illegal to sell them. It's like one of those things where it's not illegal to buy it, but it's illegal to sell it, which makes it kind of weird. And then the actual possession of it usually depends on the police officers. I don't know about the possession, but being as that my daughter doesn't leave the house with it, I didn't really bother me too much. But yeah, there is another kind, to go back to the switchblades and the stabbing people. There's two different types of switchblades. There's the one where the blade just shoots straight out the end. But the problem is a lot of people kept having issues where they would stab themselves because boys would put them in their pocket and the button would go off. And then some there. Well, the problem is if I don't spotlight myself, then we have issues also. So I go back and forth on that one. And then the other one is what's called a rainbow blade. And it's the one where you guys see the little combs, and it comes out, it's like a rainbow. And this one was a lot safer because the blade doesn't shoot straight out. It comes out like a little rainbowy thing. And that's when you guys see the little combs like, and it flips around like that. There's also another type of knife, but it is not a switchblade, but because I have kids ask all the time, it's what's called the butterfly knife. And the butterfly ones are the ones that sort of open up and it sort of flops around like that. And so that's the type of butterfly. It's the ones you see in the movies where they flip around like that and they do like the stabby thing. And so mine's, again, not a real knife for those of you who are worried about my own safety. It's a practice knife so that you can flip it around without hurting yourself. Sophia, are you asking me a question again, or do you want me to stab you?
I have a question.
What's up, dear?
So there is a difference between like a pocket knife and a switchblade, right?
Yes.
What is the difference?
Solid question. To be a switchblade, it literally has to have a button which is spring loaded, which shoots the blade out on a spring. That is what makes it a switch. Then you have other ones, which are just like the knives that you can move like with your thumb. That is not a switch. That is a manual knife. Those are completely legal and have no problem at all. Even though you can get ones that are really fast to open and stabby, it's just the spring loaded ones. When there's no spring, you're safe. Glad I could help out.
And then, Mr. Broviak, the
Yes.
butterfly knife, the correct terminology is balisong.
You are correct. It's just most people don't know it by that name. But well done. You know your knife names. A pocket knife is usually smaller. You are correct again. Yes, Sophia. I did not know you were so fascinated by knives. Now I was slightly worried.
It's kind of scary though why you know so much about knives.
I like to read a lot, and that's what we're going to stick with. Squidkins.
So you said that we had to read like the 4 chapters before the quiz.
Yes.
So like, are we doing that tonight or?
No.
Okay.
Okay. All right, back to people not squinting at me. And we're now back to page 10, halfway down on the other side. Yes, I do have a dark past, and we will talk about that, but that'll be later this year. Anyway, back to here. Stop distracting me with taking out springs from knives. If I had to pick the real character of the gang, it would be Dallas Winston. Dally. I used to like to draw his picture when he was in a dangerous mood, for then I could get his personality down in just a few lines. He had an elfish face with high cheekbones and a pointed chin, small, sharp animal teeth, and ears like a lynx. His hair was almost white. It was so blonde, and he didn't like haircuts or hair oil either, so it fell over his forehead in wisps and kicked out in the back in tufts and curled behind his ears and along the nape of his neck. His eyes were blue, blazing eyes, cold with a hatred of the whole world. Dally had spent 3 years on the wild side of New York and been arrested at the age of 10. He was tougher than the rest of us. Tougher, colder, meaner. The shade of difference that separates a greaser from a hood, that wasn't present in Dally. He was as wild as the boys in the downtown outfits, like Tim Shepard's gang. In New York, Dally blew off steam in gang fights. But here, I don't know, organized gangs are rarities. They're just small bunches of friends who stick together. The warfare is between the social classes. A rumble, when it's called, is usually just born of a grudge fight, and the opponents just happen to bring their friends along. I mean, there are a few named gangs around, like the River Kings and the Tiber Street Tigers, but here in the Southwest, there's no gang rivalry. So Dally, even though he could get into a good fight sometimes, had no specific thing to hate, no rival gang, only socials. And you can't win against them, no matter how hard you try, because they've got all the breaks, and even whipping them isn't going to change that fact. Maybe that's why Ballas was so bitter. It is very similar to West Side Story, you are correct, except that was more about love, although there is love in this one too. He had quite a reputation. They had a file on him down at the police station. He'd been arrested, got drunk, rode in rodeos, lied, cheated, stole, rolled drunks, jumped small kids. He did everything. I didn't like him, but he was smart, and you had to respect him. All right, a faster pause on this one. We're not going to talk about knives, which fascinates Sophia so much. But here with Dally, 2 things with him. He's not a good person at all. When they talk about him doing things, 2 of the things they mention him doing. One is rolling a drunk. Rolling a drunk is a way of robbing someone, of mugging them. Essentially, here's how you, for those of you who are doing your bad kid research, here's how you roll a drunk. You go to a party and you find somebody who's had so much alcohol, they just pass out, face down onto the ground. Once they're passed out, you walk over to them, lift them up, and roll them over. Once you've rolled them over, you take their wallet, take any of the money they have, throw the wallet back on top of them, and then you leave. That's what Dally does all the time. He rolls drunks, or he robs people when they get passed out from drinking too much. It also said, Sophia, did you just raise your hand because this is something you want to do? We'll get to your issues in just a moment. The other thing he mentions was the fact that he jumps little kids. Jumping somebody is not the same as getting into a fight. Like if all of a sudden Sophia's like, Mr. Broviak, I'm tired of your shenanigans. And then she shows up and her and I get into a fight. That's just a fight. We just punch each other until one of us passes out. It'd probably be Sophia making me pass out. She looks feisty. But a rumble is the next level up. And that's if Sophia brings her friends and then I bring my friends. And she's like, let's throw down. And I bring all of my teacher friends and she brings all of her not teacher friends. And then we just all start beating each other up. That's a rumble. The third one is jumping somebody. And jumping, let's say Sophia is walking home from school one day and I get together with a bunch of my teacher friends and I'm like, I'm going to teach that Sophia a lesson. So we hide behind a car, wait for Sophia to walk by, jump out, push her to the ground, and then just start kicking her while she's on the ground and like punching her and stuff like that, and then run away screaming and giggling like, ah, gah, 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 gah. That's
Like this.
So essentially, you outnumber them, and then you jump out of nowhere, beat them up, and then run away, which is what happened
Like the
with Tony Boy at the
socias.
beginning of the story. Yes, this is what the socias do all the time, which they're going to talk about later in the book. The socias love to jump people. So does Dally. But Dally also jumps little kids, as we're going to find out. He is like a 16 or 17-year-old, and he likes to jump kids like in elementary school and junior high. And he thinks that's a fun thing to do. Why? Because he's not a good person. Sophia, aside from you and I having a fight, what's up, Sophia?
So when it says like when you roll a drunk,
Uh-huh.
like would it doesn't that look a little weird though? And you see somebody like rolling them over?
Probably, but usually, probably, Sophia, the other people at the party have also been drinking, so they're probably not paying a whole lot of attention to things. I see you, Sophia. You're doing your research. You're like, I'm making my fat bank on the weekends. We're trying not to judge you here as you're doing your research. It's okay. No judgment. This is a safe place. Macnell, what's up with you? Never mind, Macnell. It's a good try. And yes, you roll them over to get, because sometimes like their wallet might be in their back pocket, but their phone is in their front pocket. And you want to roll them over to get access to both when you're robbing somebody. Just talk to Sophia later. She'll be able to help you out with all this. And we'll be able to walk you through it. All right, let's keep going from there, except for poor Macnell, who just got confused. You give me that look. Then back to bottom of page 11. Johnny Cade was last and least. Okay, if you can picture like a little dark puppy that's been kicked too many times and is lost in a crowd of strangers, you'll have Johnny. He was the youngest next to me, smaller than the rest, with a slight build. He had big black eyes and a dark tan face. His hair was jet black and heavily greased and combed to the side, but it was so long that it fell in shaggy bangs across his forehead. He had a nervous, suspicious look in his eyes, and that beating he got from the socials didn't help matters. He was the gang's pet, everyone's kid brother. His father was always beating him up, and his mother ignored him, except when she was hacked off at something. And then you could hear her yelling at him clear down at our house. I think he hated that worse than getting whipped. He would have run away a million times if we hadn't been there. And if it hadn't been for the gang, Johnny would never have known what love and affection are. By the way, this goes back to that original question about which is more important, family or friends. For Johnny, obviously it's going to be friends because his family just yells at him and beats him. So I don't think he has a real strong friendship with them. She might. We're not judging people and who jumps little children. It's good for them. I wiped my eyes hurriedly. Did you catch him? No, they got away this time. The dirty Two-Bit went on cheerfully, calling the socials every name he could think of or just make up. Hey, the kids okay? I'm okay. I tried to think of something to say. I'm usually pretty quiet around people, even the gang. I changed the subject. I didn't know you were out of the cooler yet, Dally. Good behavior. got off early. Dallas lit a cigarette. By the way, I would do a chat challenge, but I've already wasted a lot of time. If you don't, not wasted, I'm sorry, I've used a lot of time with your education. If you don't know what the cooler is, he was in jail. So that's what about him. He was already in the cooler, and then he got off for good behavior. So he had just gotten out of jail. Yeah, you're right, Colleen. It hurts only because it's true. Good behavior. Dallas lit a cigarette and handed it to Johnny. Everyone sat down to have a smoke and relax. The smoke always lessens the tension. I'd quit trembling and my color was back. The cigarette was calling me down. Two-Bit cocked an eyebrow. It's a nice looking bruise you got there, kid. I touched my cheek gingerly. Really? Two-Bit nodded sagely. It's a nice cut, too. It makes you look tough. Now, tough and tough are two different words. Tough is the same as rough. Tough? Oh, that means cool or sharp, like a tough-looking Mustang or a tough record. In our neighborhood, both are compliments. Steve flicked his ashes at me. What were you doing walking by your lonesome? Leave it to good old Steve to bring up something like that. I was coming home from the movies. I mean, I didn't think. You don't ever think, Derry broke in. Not at home or anywhere when it counts. You must think at school with all those good grades you bring home, and you've always got your nose in a book, but do you ever use your head for common sense? No sirree, bub. If you did have to go by yourself, you should have carried a blade. Oh, quick pause. So you can see the screen up there right now where it has the list of the people. You're going to get confused in the book between Derry and Dally because their names sound very similar. Derry, Dally. Derry is Ponyboy's brother. Dally is the guy who jumps little kids, and they play really different roles in the book. So here's my best way to help you remember which one is which. Derry has R's in it. The word brother has 2 R's in it. Dally has L's in it. Loser has an L in it. So think Dally, loser, Derry, brother. And hopefully that'll help you figure out things as we go through. Macnell, did you raise your hand again? What's up this time, Macnell?
So I'm just wondering, do they have, like, I know they have police officers because they have a police station, but like, why wouldn't, like, if they know they have, like, I would think it would be pretty obvious if they had like the gangs, especially like the greasers doing bad things.
As we're going to find out, the police officers don't come into their part of town very often. They're going to talk about, that's one of their complaints, is the police officers only drive around the good parts of the neighborhood and don't come to their part of the neighborhood, so they can kind of get away with more stuff because the cops are scared of them. So that's the thing they actually bring up later. Rye, what's up with you?
The first 3 letters reversed of Derry's name is Rad, because he's pretty rad. Makes sense at the time. And
like you nailed it.
Dally kills a lad.
Sure, that works for me too. Should have carried a blade, just like Sophia. I just stared at the hole in the toe of my tennis shoe. Me and Derry just didn't dig each other. I never could please him. He would have hollered at me for carrying a blade if I had carried one. If I brought home B's, he wanted A's. If I got A's, he wanted to make sure they stayed A's. If I was playing football, I should be in studying. If I was reading, I should be out playing football. He never hollered at Soda Pop. Not even when Soda dropped out of school or got tickets for speeding. He just hollered at me. Soda was glaring at him. Leave my kid brother alone, you hear? It ain't his fault he likes to go to the movies, and it ain't his fault the socials like to jump us. If he had been carrying a blade, it would have been a good excuse to cut him to ribbons. Soda always takes up for me. Derry said impatiently, when I want my kid brother to tell me what to do with my other kid brother, I'll ask you, kid brother. But he did lay off of me. He always does when Soda Pop tells him to. Well, most of the time. Next time, get one of us to go with you, Pony Boy, Judith said. Not any of us will. Speaking of movies, Dally yawned, flipping away his cigarette butt. I'm walking over to the nightly double tomorrow night. Anybody want to come and hunt some action? Steve shook his head. Oh, me and Soda are picking up Evie and Sandy for the game. He didn't need to look at me the way he did right then. I wasn't going to ask if I could come. I mean, I'd never tell Soda because he really likes Steve a lot, but sometimes I can't stand Steve Randall. I mean it. Sometimes I hate him. Derry sighed, just like I knew he would. Derry never had time to do anything anymore. I'm working tomorrow night. By the way, I haven't done this in a while, but I highlighted that part about him never having time to do anything anymore, and I wrote down me because basketball season for me starts today, and now I don't get to see my daughters until late every day, so it's the same thing. Dally looked at the rest of us. How about y'all? Two-Bit, Johnny Cake, you and Pony want to come? Well, me and Johnny will come, I said. I knew Johnny wouldn't open his mouth unless he was forced to. Is that okay, Derry? Yeah, since it ain't a school night. Derry was real good about letting me go places on the weekends. On school nights, I could hardly leave the house. I was planning on getting boozed up tomorrow night, Two-Bit said. If I don't, I'll walk over and find y'all. Steve was looking at Dally's hand. His ring, which he had rolled a drunk senior to get, was back on his finger. Did you break up with Sylvia again? Yeah, this time it's for good. That little broad was two-timing me again while I was in jail. I thought of Sylvia and Evie and Sandy and Two-Bit's mini blondes. They were the only kind of girls that would look at us, I thought. Tough, loud girls who wore too much eye makeup and giggled, swore too much. I liked Soda's girl Sandy just fine, though. Her hair was natural blonde and her laugh was soft like her china blue eyes. She didn't have a real good home or anything. She was our kind, greaser, but she was a real nice girl. Still, lots of times I wondered what other girls were like. The girls who were bright-eyed, had their dresses a decent length, acted as if they'd like to spit on us given a chance. Some were afraid of us, and remembering Dallas Winston, I didn't blame them. But most looked at us like we were dirt, gave us the same kind of look that the Socias did when they came by in their Mustangs and Corvairs and yelled, "Grease!" at us. I wondered about them. The girls, I mean. Did they cry when their boys were arrested, like Evie did when Steve got hauled in? Or they run out on them the way Sylvia did Dallas? Maybe their boys didn't get arrested or beaten up or busted up in rodeos. I was still thinking about it while I was doing my homework that night. I had to read Great Expectations for English. And that kid, Pip, he reminded me of us, the way he felt marked lousy because he wasn't a gentleman or anything. And the way that girl kept looking down on him. And that happened to me once. Okay. One time in biology, I had to dissect a worm and the razor wouldn't cut, so I used my own switchblade. The minute I flicked it out, I forgot what I was doing, or I would never have done it. This girl right beside me kind of gasped and said, "Oh, they're right. You are a hood." That didn't make me feel so hot. There were a lot of socias in that class. I get put into A classes because I'm supposed to be smart, and most of them thought it was pretty funny. I didn't, though. She was a cute girl. She looked real good in yellow. All right. We deserve a lot of our trouble, I thought. Dallas deserves everything he gets and should get worse if you want the truth. And Two-Bit, he doesn't really want or need half the things he swipes from stores. He just thinks it's fun to swipe everything that isn't nailed down. I can understand why Soda Pop and Steve get into drag races and fight so much, though. Both of them just have too much energy, too much feeling, no way to blow it off. Rub harder, Soda, I heard Derry mumbling. They're going to put me to sleep. I looked through the door. Soda Pop was giving Derry a back rub. Derry is always pulling muscles. He roofs houses, and he's always trying to carry 2 bundles of roofing up the ladder. I knew Soda would put him to sleep. Soda can put about anyone out when he sets his head to it. He thought Derry worked too hard anyway. I mean, I did too. Derry didn't deserve to work like an old man when he was only 20. He'd been a real popular guy in school. He was captain of the football team and even been voted Boy of the Year. But we just didn't have the money for him to go to college, even with the athletic scholarship he won. And by the way, the athletic scholarship, I underlined that and put out to the side, me never, because I could barely play most sports, let alone get a scholarship. So that could only be a dream for me. And now he didn't have time between jobs to even think about college. So he never went anywhere and never did anything anymore, except work out at gyms and go skiing with some of the old friends of his sometimes. I rubbed my cheek where it turned purple. I looked in the mirror. It did make me look tough, but Derry made me put a Band-Aid on the cut. I remembered how awful Johnny had looked when he got beaten up. I had just as much right to use the streets as the Socias did, and Johnny never hurt them. Why the Socias hate us so much? We left him alone. I nearly went to sleep over my homework trying to figure it out. Soda Pop, who had jumped into bed by this time, yelled sleepily for me to turn off the light and get to bed. When I finished the chapter I was on, I did. Lying beside Soda, staring at the wall, I kept remembering the faces of the Socias as they surrounded me. That blue Madras shirt the blonde was wearing, and I could still hear a thick voice. Need a haircut, greaser? I shivered. You cold, pony boy? A little, I lied. Soda threw one arm across my neck, mumbled something drowsily. Listen, kiddo, when Derry hollers at you, he don't mean nothing. He's just got more worries than somebody his age ought to. I don't take him serious, you dig, pony? Don't let him bug you. He's really proud of you because you're so brainy. It's just because you're the baby. I mean, he loves you a lot. Savvy? Sure, I said, trying for Soda's sake to keep the sarcasm out of my voice. Soda? Yeah? How come you dropped out? I never have gotten over that. I could hardly stand it when he left school. Because I'm dumb. The only things I was passing anyway were auto mechanics and gym. You're not dumb. Yeah, I am. Shut up, I'll tell you something. Don't tell Derry, though. Okay. I think I'm gonna marry Sandy. I mean, after she gets out of school and I get a better job and everything. I might wait till you get out of school, though, so I can still help Derry with the bills and stuff. Tough enough. Wait till I get out, though, so you can keep Derry off my back. Oh, don't be like that, kid. I told you he don't mean half of what he says. You in love with Sandy? What's it like? Oh, it's real nice. In a moment, his breathing was light and regular. I turned my head to look at him, and in the moonlight, he looked like some Greek god come to earth. I wondered how he could stand being so handsome. Then I sighed. I didn't quite get what he meant about Derry. Derry thought I was just another mouth to feed, somebody to holler at. Derry loved me? I thought of those hard, pale eyes. Soda was wrong for once, I thought. Derry doesn't love anyone or anything, except maybe Soda. I didn't hardly think of him as being human. I don't care, I lied to myself. I don't care about him either. Soda's enough, and I'd have him until I got out of school. I don't care about Derry. But I was still lying. I knew it. I lie to myself all the time, but I never believe me. Things to cover quick. Sorry. In chapter 2, I want to show you some pictures first. It's going to make things easier when we get into it. So in chapter 2, they're going to talk about, they do a lot of shoplifting in this book. They're going to talk about the fact that that's like one of Tues' hobbies is the 5-finger discount and just taking things from stores. So we're going to get to this next one. Instead of Tues stealing, it's going to be Dally who steals. And Dally is going to steal something called Kools, K-O-O-L-S. If you don't know what Kools are, that's a good thing. I'm proud of you for not knowing what Kools are. If you did know what they were, I'd probably be slightly more disturbed. They're cigarettes, and apparently these were cool kids' cigarettes. These were things that existed before vapes, and so there's about the fact that he goes, yes, like Kool-Aid, almost the exact same thing. And so they're about him stealing those things. They're also going to go over to a drive-in restaurant. And so drive-in restaurants were super popular back in the day. Not quite as popular now. They still have them. They have like Dog and Suds. I think they have like not Sonic, but there's one. So Sonic is a drive-through, but there are ones where you just like A&W is one. It's where you just go and park your car and they bring, like in the old movies, the people like on roller skates who would bring the food out to you like on a tray and they put it like on the window. That's what they're talking about here. These were called drive-in restaurants. Not a drive-through restaurant like a Dairy Queen now, but it's a place where you would just park in the parking lot and they would bring the food out to you while you were there. They came back like back in the 2000s and they kind of faded back out again today. surprisingly enough, they'd probably be real popular right now because you can't be around people. You have to stay in your car. And they're also going to go to a drive-in theater. And so this is, they're talking about the drive-in theater, which we do still have these. I've taken my daughters. There's one here in Indianapolis, which you can go down to, which is really cool. They actually have 4 screens at the one down in Indianapolis, like one on each side of the parking lot, depending on which way you face. And they're going to talk about the fact that they're going to go to this drive-in movie theater. They don't use a car. They just walk to it and then like jump over a fence to get into it. And there's like these little chairs right between the parking lot and the screen. There's chairs you can sit out there and listen to it. They're going to be sitting out there and watching it. All right. And I think we'll come back. So this is going to be Gas Jockey, which they're going to talk about. I don't remember the name of it. It's not the ABC used to be in Noblesville, but there's something that's down in Indy on the the west side. And that's where the theater is. I took my daughters to. We've been there like twice. I went right when the pandemic started back in like April or March. And that was kind of, I saw The Invisible Man while I was there, which is kind of a cool movie too. And they're going to talk about him. Who is it? Dally and who's the other guy? Soda Pop are what are called gas jockeys. And a gas jockey was a person who worked at a gas station and their job was to fill up your gas tank. We don't really have them anymore unless you guys go to New Jersey or Oregon. And they actually have gas jockeys there. It is illegal to pump your own gas in New Jersey. You have to have a store employee do it for you. And the idea is that you would pull up and then that way you don't have to get out of your car. You just like hold your credit card out like, and they come over and they grab it and they swipe it for you. You tell them how much you want and they do all the work for you. And that's what a gas jockey is. And so nowadays we don't really have them as much because it made gas more expensive and people would rather have cheaper gas, except for New Jersey and Oregon. They have more expensive gas and you get these people who pump the gas for you, which is kind of cool. Ooh, they're going to talk about a blue Mustang coming up also. And so this is what they're referring to, the blue Mustang, which is like the red Corvair. But this is going to be another one. If you had to guess between Socias and Greasers, which one's going to be driving in a blue Mustang, hopefully you can yes. Good job, those of you who are yelling Socias at me. It is definitely going to be the Socias with the big fancy car. The Greasers were not in the big fancy car thing. And then the Beetle haircut. Camaros eat Mustangs. Well, I'm glad to see you like your Chevys over your Fords. So don't you yell socks at me. And then the Beatles haircut, they're going to make fun of the fact that some of the, what do you call them? The Socias have the haircut, which nowadays is fairly popular anyway. It's just like the shaggy hair that falls down. Like a lot of them have the really short haircuts, like the one I have, like a buzz cut. Then they talk about the fact that some of them have Beatles haircuts, which is shaggy hair, which is like sort of floppy all over. Nowadays, tons of boys have Beatles haircuts. You guys all do. It's like sort of like the de facto shaggy hair thing that you have going for you. So hopefully that helps you out. All right. Now let's go with stop there. If we have 6 people, I do not want to see your brother's haircut. If we have 6 people who can make connections, then we can wrap up here. If not, I get to continue with my melodic voice. And you can either put connection-y thing into chat, or you're welcome to raise hand. Or if you would rather to have me keep reading, then you can stay quiet and we can make our connections from there. And let's see if we get to my 6. And then go away, computer thing. And so there. Macnol. You have connection for me, Macnol? Go for it.
I have to find it real quick.
Dramatic waiting.
Oh, on page 10, it says his eyes were blue, and I connected that to myself because I have blue eyes.
That would work. Solid connection. Rye, you also have a connection that you're going to make for me too. What do you have?
Yep. So DeSantis, he was still a junior at 18 and a half, and he never learned anything. He just went for kicks. That reminded me of Yasuhiro, who is apparently who in the games is in high school, but he's also old enough to drink. He's 20 in the Japanese version and 21 in the English version.
All right. Girl who likes knives, what connection do you have to make?
On page 13, where it says carrying a blade, the connection is Mr. Broviak.
Feels a little attacky on that one, but all right. And Stuart, you make 4, depending on what you have, Kyra.
When it said he looked like some Greek god come to earth, I said Ryan Reynolds to Mr. Broviak.
I mean, it's true. The man's hunky. Zeke, what do you have?
On page 11, it says there are just small bunches of friends who stick together. And I said my neighborhood.
I would dig that. Nicely done. Ledford, I think you're my official 6.
On page 9, where it says Soda Pop likes to tease his brother. I have 2 older brothers and I love to tease them.
I mean, everyone loves to tease a good brother. Yes, Macnell, I saw you. I was ignoring you. Down, Tiger. Lau, what's up with you?
Also on page 9, Soda Pop isn't afraid of him like everyone else and enjoys teasing him. That's me with basically any one that most people are scared of. And then
You're the one that does the attacking.
Sort of.
All right.
And also on page 10, it says that he has an elfish face. I kind of have an elfish face.
I like your Dungeons and Dragons reference. Nicely done.
Yes.
All right. And then Maddie, 1, I'm sorry, Maddie. 2, I'll try to not add on to the homework that the other teachers hate you with. Macnell, you have another one? What's up, dear?
On page 15, where it says her hair was naturally blonde, I related that to my aunt because she has like the whitest, well, it's super blonde. It's like looks white.
Oh, that's natural. That's cool. So Colleen, they said he has good grades but no common sense. I connected myself with. So then all you do is connect the no common sense part. So way to rip on yourself first. That did make me smile. So go you there. All right, Stabby, what do you have, dear?
I don't have a connection, but I'm just wondering, are we supposed to read 3 and 4 on by ourselves, or are you going to?
I'm going to explain that in just a second.
Okay.
As soon as I get done with you and Rye, I'll go to that next. Rye, what's that for my last one?
I nearly went to sleep over my homework trying to figure it out. I connected that to me 2 classes ago, trying to figure out that pirate thingy.
Oh, that pirate thing. Ted Ed. All right. So here's how our homeworky thing is going to work, to give you guys an explanation. So our checkpoint is going to be end of chapter 4. The quiz will be on Thursday/Friday, but it's not going to be due until Sunday night. So if you're not done with chapter 4, we have until Sunday night. Wednesday, we're going to be able to do a little bit of reading because I have to do some review for some things. And then we're going to do some reading and get into chapter 2. And then my goal is then on Thursday/Friday, do more reading of chapter 2, possibly. So let's see where you guys are. I would say it might work best homework-wise if you guys read or listened to chapter 2 on your own, and then we will start chapter 3 together. And so I would say if you want to use the audiobook, do that. If you would rather read it on your own, and I would say aim for probably Wednesday/Thursday to have 2 done, and then we can start 3 together. And so we'll be able to go from there. So we'll make that the homework as we're trying to adjust things. So just finish 2 and just worry about that. If you get into book and you just want to keep reading, that's fine. That's not going to bother me at all. So I would say for the most part, yes, read chapter 2. I will send that out in a remind. And your goal is to have chapter 2 done by Wednesday. And then we should be good to go. If you don't have chapter 2 done, it just means we're going to spoil some stuff for you and you're going to get past some of the fun because we meet some characters, big characters. There's some angry, there's some fighting and stuff like that. So, and you're also going to get some background. You're going to find out what happened to Johnny that time he got beat up. There's like a flashback scene and some stuff like that. So it's definitely a fun chapter. And then chapter 3, we get into bigger stuff. But all right, I'll stop for today. I know you guys have had a long week and you probably have math homework to do and stuff like that. So Owen, I have no idea what you're sitting in, but I have definitely found it entertaining. It looks like you're in a giant foam box, which we're just going to try and not judge you too much on. We're just going to try and be jealous, and that's it. All right. And so there, we've covered that. Then I guess that's
How did
it.
you know I had math homework?
Because you're a human, and I figured everybody has math homework because math teachers hate children. I was told math teachers are giving out 5 assignments still, even though you only see them like 2 or 3 times a week. They're still giving out 5 assignments. And I'm like, man, I am sorry to see how many of you are nodding your heads up and down. That's math. All right, now I'll let you guys down. I'll stop babbling.
Bye. Mr.
See you
Broviak,
never.
Yes,
do you like my unicorn?
turn it sideways. Oh, that's a chunky little, is it squishy?
Yeah.
Yes, I like your unicorn. That
another
is
one.
adorable.
It's just a
It's mildly disturbing, but entertaining. All right, go you.